You are listening to the Enormocast.
Black Diamond is a proud sponsor of the Enormocast. And this year, Black Diamond is presenting the Rock Project, a dynamic program of outreach, media, and activism to bring climbers of all abilities and origins together to protect climbing resources the world over.
Climbing is our playground, basically. And we use it, and we should treat it like we treat our house.
Pienso que es importante para disfrutar de la naturaleza con otros escaladores.
This is awesome. This is connecting to the community. This is connecting to nature. I want to go back to that every time.
This weekend at the Rock Project, there was a lot of things that I learned.
Minimizing your impact, having that be part of the conversation around climbing, along with this is the route I want to do, this is the gear I need.
Understanding that I have an impact, that one person has an impact.
I think being a responsible user means being aware of people around you, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of your impact.
I'm leaving no trace, and I'm not bothering their surroundings.
There are a lot of climbers out there that care, but they don't know how to get involved.
And that's where the Rock Project comes in. So go to blackdiamondequipment.com or accessfund.org for more information. We're all in this together.
Listen, where are you playing in town? Are you playing here?
We're doing the Enormo Dome, whatever it is. It's terrific.
Oh, yeah, the big
place
that side of town. That's a big place. You sold it out. 20,000 seats.
You really should.
The hell are you doing?
I couldn't sleep. I'm checking the ropes. There was a frayed end on your rope, and I'm cutting it out. Bad weather. Now or later, anytime for climbing.
Today's show is brought to you by Black Diamond Equipment, with support from Maxim Ropes.
And now, La Sportiva has joined the Enormo Nation as a premier sponsor. And of course, don't forget Bonfire Coffee. Go to bonfirecoffee.com, enter Enormo at checkout to get a discount on great coffee and to help out the Enormocast. Please support all of our great sponsors and let them know that you love them.
And now back to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Enormocast. This is your host, Chris Kalous. It is July 22nd, about 9 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time. A listener recently wrote in and corrected me that it's not Mountain Standard Time. I think it's Mountain Daylight Time. For anybody else who's keeping track of those sorts of things, I can't believe I remembered to change that. But anyway, shout out to Jackson Little, the time zone nerd, who sent me that. Thanks, Jackson. Anyway, on today's show is Barbara Zangerl, Austrian climber. I ran into her in Cornadea this winter and then again in Salt Lake City where we sat down and got this interview. Very exciting, totally amazing climber. One of these European badasses that are relatively unknown in the U.S. But anyway, she's pretty rad. We'll talk about her in just a minute. In Enormocast news, trade shows coming up, headed to that. Got a bunch of cool interviews lined up as usual, staying at the roadway, trying to set them up and knock them down. But look forward to a bunch of stuff I'm going to get up there. Little bit of a trip report from old Lander. First of all, I want to say thanks and a hearty hello to all the folks who I ended up chatting with up there in Lander at the bar, yelling over the bands and the DJ, or out at the park or anywhere else. Certainly not at the cliff, because I didn't end up at the cliff. This was my first Lander climbing fest where I didn't actually climb anything whatsoever. Just didn't work out. Some of the team went climbing. I believe Steve got a ton of pitches in, and Simon got one pitch in for posterity. But we did a whole bunch of other cool stuff. The Lander bar, as usual, came through big for the festival. 2 bands and a DJ, 3 nights, pretty awesome, good times there. I think I talked myself hoarse about the Enormocast at those things, and played a little volleyball in the park, hung out, went to the water slide, the big granite water slide up above Sinks, which was a lot of fun. Great festival as usual, and we had a slightly bigger crew this year coming up from Carbondale. Ben Yardley from Rock and Ice Magazine came along, as well as Liz Haas, the current intern over there. And HK was up there, Hayden Kennedy. So, yeah, Carbondale was representing pretty hardcore at the Lander Climber Fest. I want to thank Mandy Fable for having us up there and putting on another great Climbers Fest. I know it was not her job alone, but she's the figurehead. So thanks again, Mandy. Good times. See y'all next year. Okay, on to the interview with Barbara Zangerl. Barbara Zangerl is an Austrian climber, a.k.a. Babsi, which is a very cute name for a very badass woman. She started out as a boulderer, gone on to become a very strong sport climber, but then moved into the big routes, completing a bunch of very hard, very scary, very difficult routes in the Alps, in the Dolomites, all over Europe. Friends with Nina Caprez, who I interviewed a little while ago, and also some of the same pedigree as Nina, including they started climbing on the Silver Gyre together and completed it separately at different times. But yeah, big, scary routes are not a problem for Babsi, which is hard to figure out because she's a very sweet, very down-to-earth, very humble woman, and it was a great joy to sit down and talk with her. Another accented show. Yes, it's been a very continental year for the Enormocast. So anyway, let's get to it. A conversation with Babsi Zangerl. Hey folks, Sportiva is a proud sponsor of the Enormocast. And as many of you know, I've worn several models of Sportiva climbing shoes for years. And frankly, if I had to, I'd probably trade my firstborn for a pair of Miras.
But I mean, he's only a 25-pound baby, and it'd be easy to just cinch him in the backpack. I'm sure it'll be fine.
But this month, we are highlighting the new Genius, a shoe so haughty that it accuses chestnuts of being lazy. The Genius features the next-gen no-edge technology, so they come right out of the box ready to smear those non-existent dimples and divots on hard boulder problems to steep, techie sport climbs. And it turns out that a comfy fit does not mean performance loss with the Genius. So if you're ready to up your wax on, wax off from above average to genius, go to Sportiva.com or your nearest climbing retailer to check them out, along with Sportiva's full line of mountain boots, trail running shoes, approach shoes, and climbing shoes. Okay, so you're sounding good. I think I've got you. I think we're recording. I think this is everything. So this is part 2 of the Hyatt Park Regency Chronicles. I'm here at the Black Diamond Rock Project in Salt Lake City at the Hyatt, which is a much higher grade hotel than I normally stay at. And I'm here with Barbara Zangerl. How is that for pronunciation of the last name?
A little bit different.
Okay.
Normal, it's Zangerl, but it's impossible to say it.
Zangerl. Okay.
When you are from the US.
Right. We used to call Zangerl. Which is actually kind of cool. That's not bad. Babsi, is that what you go by there too, or is that something you've told all us Americans?
Yeah, it's similar. Babsi.
Okay, cool. So, welcome to the Hyatt. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
How's your weekend going?
Thanks for inviting me. My weekend, or my last week, was really busy here, but it was also really cool to climb here around Salt Lake City. We went to Little Cottonwood to go bouldering there, and also to Bob Dyer Cave. So I saw a lot of cool places, and yeah, I like to be here.
Nice. Well, welcome to the U.S. You've been here before, though, a couple times. Yeah. Where else have you climbed in the States?
I have been to Red River Gorge. This was my first time in the U.S. And I was 2 times in Indian Creek.
Okay.
Before.
Awesome.
That's it.
And you've never been to Yosemite?
Sorry, I forgot that. It's true, I was in Yosemite, and that was my first time. It is 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. I was there together with Hans-Jörg Auer.
Okay, cool.
And it was my first crack climbing experience and my first big wall experience. So.
How was that?
Yeah, it was crazy. I thought it's much easier to climb a crack. But yeah, it was super hard for me. Yeah. hard to learning it and
you mean
painful.
You thought beforehand it would be much easier to climb a crack, and then you found out it was harder?
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought it's easier. You know the grade of a crack, and the grade it's not really hard. When you hear about 5'9" or 5'10", you think it's really easy. But when it's a crack, it's completely different. It's like trying another sport, and for me it was super hard.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you actually went to Indian Creek a couple times, learned to crack climb, at least, it's sort of this myth, I think, or I guess it can be true at times that Europeans come over, they aren't crack climbers generally, unless they're from a very special place in Europe that has a few cracks. They go to a place like Indian Creek, and people like me who climb down there all the time, we kind of smile because it's like, well, here you go. You're a 5'14" climber in Europe, but
no chance to climb an easy crack.
But I always say it's a little bit of a myth because plenty of European climbers, I always joke, I say after like 5 minutes they kind of start to get it. But it's still climbing, so a lot of these really good climbers do, after a week or whatever it takes, they start to get it, and it starts to become natural. And you guys, and who you climbing the Moonlight with?
With Jacopo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you went on to climb a team ascent of the Moonlight Buttress, swapping pitches, not too long after learning how to crack climb. What was the sort of time frame in that?
I went to Yosemite before and once to Indian Creek, and then we went to Zion. But it's different. I think it's easier for a European to climb a finger crack than to climb a off-it. Off-it is completely no way to climb it. When you can do layback, it's more like face climbing. When you are strong, you can do a layback. But to do a off-it where you have to jam, this is impossible.
Right.
It's crazy to see because there are a lot of really strong American crack climbers, and it looks so easy. And when you try it, I tried the first 2 or 3 meters, and then I was totally done, and I was not able to climb, to keep on climbing. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that it applies to a lot of American crack climbers too. I mean, true off-witting on a hard level is a very specialized thing because I have friends that are very good at it too.
Yeah.
And I've fallen into the same trap of where I see them climb something and I'm like, wow, that doesn't look too bad. They just like, I mean, I know they're better than me, but if I just do what I saw them do, I'll be fine. And I'm done. Like halfway up, like forget it. I'm done for the day. Like
it's so hard, and it's a full body workout.
Right.
Yeah. At the beginning, we only climbed 3 cracks a day, and then we were totally tired.
Right.
Had to rest.
Well, it's cool though. I mean, because I think it is true that when climbers who don't climb cracks come over and do it, they have to have an attitude change in terms of the grades, because like you said, I mean, if you're sport climbing in Europe or anywhere else, a 5'11" is,
Yeah, it's easy, but you
not
can't
a
go
problem.
on the grade when you are here.
Right.
It's not about the grade. It's just about the size of the crack.
Yeah, I think though some people still get hung up on the grade, and they kind of have a bad time because they feel like after this amount of time I should be climbing this level,
Yeah.
And the people I've seen, Europeans, and I have a very good friend from Spain who climbs in Indian Creek with me a lot, and he brought the right attitude of like, well, I'll just keep trying and get better, and I have to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, and I think this is the best thing in climbing, to learn something new, and the first steps you are getting really fast better, and this is the interesting thing
it's
for
fun.
me. And also when you are a really good climber and you go together with other really good face climbers, and then it doesn't matter how hard you climb, you have to start on the same level, and this is super funny.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Like I said, that's the right attitude, and it paid off, because I know you can lay back a lot of Moonlight Buttress, but you have to be able to crack climb well. Nevertheless, to climb that thing, it's not easy.
No, for sure not easy.
Yeah, there's no off-width on it, but that's fun.
Luckily.
That's why it's so good. Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about. I interviewed some friends of yours who are Austrian as well. Not too long ago, I put it out. Anna Storr and Killian Fischhuber. I just interviewed a German climber, and I know Austria and Germany are different places, but
completely different places.
They're the Germanic people. They speak a similar language. They're like us and the Canadians, right? And I feel like
it's not even a similar language. It's a completely different.
Is it? See, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know these things.
When I speak normal Austrian German, I think Daniel, for example, wouldn't understand me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a deep valley dialect.
Okay. So see, this is what I want you to do. I want you to educate me right now, because Americans, I think, overall, we're somewhat infamous for not having a lot of knowledge of the greater world. I think that's an accusation I've heard from Europeans and things like we don't know what's going on out there. Us climbers who travel, we feel like we do, but I can't keep up with every language and who's speaking what and everything.
Yeah, it sounds similar for sure.
It does, certainly, So, but what I was getting at is that, like, I did an okay job with those interviews, but I just don't feel like, I feel like I'm missing something about, to use a word, I believe it's German actually, is it Zeitgeist? Do you know this
Zeitgeist,
word?
yes, I know.
I'm missing something from it all. Like, I haven't quite crossed over and connected really well. So this may be a hard question to answer because it's so broad, but what do I need to know about Austrians to understand, like, the way you guys think? Is there anything, like, we talk about Americans, like, we're rather, as a group, we're sort of boisterous. I think we're kind of friendly and open, but I think that's one of our things, and we're sort of known to be a little bit boastful about our, great Americanness. And, we're and in a lot of ways, in a negative sense, we're seen as a little bit pushy, I think, when we're sort of traveling in other countries, at least like typical American tourists. So there's kind of a feel to an American, like, what do I need to know about Austrians? Are you guys generally quieter? Are you reserved?
Yeah,
are you outgoing? Yeah. What am I missing here?
I think we are more reserved, and it's not so easy to find friends in Austria. But I think, for sure it's easier in America, but I don't know if they are real friends.
Okay.
They are super friendly from beginning on, and the Austrians are more closed. And it's harder to get to start, or when you travel to Austria, it's not easy to find people to go climbing with, because they are not so open than in the US, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my trouble.
That's your trouble.
I'm like waiting for them to give me a big old American hug. It's just not going to happen.
No, not really. Not really. I think when you do that, the climbers are different. I think it's easier. You are on the same wave when you are also a climber. Then it's easier to go climbing together. And when you are together for one day, then it's the same. But the start is different.
The start is a little bit harder.
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of the feel I've gotten, and actually with like Anna and Killian, again, like having been world travelers, like they felt, like they were ready to, okay, this guy's American, like we're gonna open up to him a little bit, because that's probably what he's expecting, and in a lot of ways with you as well. I did the very American thing when I met you in Spain. I'm like, hey, I know some friends of yours.
Yeah, but I think the Austrian and also the Germans like that. When it's not too much, sometimes it's too much when everybody is saying, how are you doing? How are you doing? I am good. And how are you doing? I am good. It's always the same, and it's not, for me, it's not real anymore, because everybody is saying that all the time.
Sure.
But I think we really like it when somebody's open, and it's good when, and it's open up yourself and somebody is open to you. It depends on the valley. It depends on the people from the land or from the city. It's different, I think.
Are the people from the land?
They are more closed, and the people from the cities are more open.
Yeah, that's I think
because there are a lot of more different people and also different languages, and they are more open. And when you go, for example, when you go climbing, you have a lot of small sport climbing cracks, and there are a lot of farmers, and they often don't want that the climbers are there.
Sure.
Because
they just don't.
It's their own place,
right?
And
and what you're doing is weird.
And when you are not from this place, and when you don't talk the same, when you don't speak the same language, then it can be a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the same everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a culture clash because the farmers or the ranchers or whoever it is they don't get what we're even doing and why we would do that. Like why we're not home working, I guess, is what they think we should be doing. I don't know.
Yeah,
do you know what I
think
mean?
So. The lazy guys who are always
just
going
off
out
the cliffs the whole
hanging
time.
around
right.
and
doing this like stupid thing that doesn't get any.
Nobody can understand.
Right,
this.
right, yeah. So that's cool that crosses cultures, because I think that's the same everywhere. Australia, New Zealand, here, just people scratching their heads. You're gonna go do what? Where? So, well, cool. That's helpful to me. So thanks, because I'm trying to learn. About the world through these things. So, but let's move on to you and your climbing. You're here because you're here for the Athlete Summit with Black Diamond. So, some level of professional climber. And you grew up. Well, where did you grow up in Austria?
I grew up in Tyrol.
Okay. So in the mountains.
The region is called Arlberg. Yeah, in the mountains.
Right.
Directly in the mountains, in a little village which is called Strengen. It's a one-horse town, only a few people living there. And after school, I started to work in a hospital, and I moved to Bludenz. It's only 1 hour away from where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you grew up basically directly in the mountains?
Yeah.
I mean, Tyrol.
Yeah. For example, when it was winter, I could start with skis next to our door.
Okay.
Next to our house. Yeah.
Just go out on skis.
Yeah.
Right. And you grew up skiing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Everybody there grew up skiing.
I mean, when you're talking about it, I'm like envisioning like a postcard village. Is this what we're talking about? Like in the mountains and...
Yeah, I think so. It's like that, yeah.
Cows with bells and the
whole
thing.
A lot of space between every house, and directly in the mountains. You have to, when you want to go cycling there, or when you want to go for a run there, it's not easy because it's always steep.
Right.
And it's different. It's right up to the mountain. Yeah.
So what did your parents do, like, for a living? What were you guys up to in this little tiny village?
My father, I don't know how is it called in English. He worked with metal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of this. And my mother worked in a shop.
Okay.
But with 20, she got her first child. I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are
Where
a
do
big
you fit
family.
in the age
in the middle.
range? Oh, you're right in the middle.
I have 2 older brothers and 1 older sister and 1 younger sister.
Right.
Yeah.
How did climbing come into your life? And then I guess the question is, because when we think of Tyrol, we call it Tyrol.
Mm-hmm.
But, we think of big mountain climbing. I mean, Messner is from some part of Tyrol, isn't he? Reinhold Messner?
Yeah, South Tyrol.
But he's Italian, isn't
Italian,
he?
yeah.
But it's the same region.
Yeah, it's kind of the same region, that's true.
Yeah, so he's in Italian Tyrol, you're on the other side.
Yeah.
We imagine you being a big mountain climber coming from this range. So how did climbing come into your life, and then, how did it become a rock climbing thing?
When I was a child, a lot of times I went up to the mountains with my family. This was normal, and we also started skiing really early when I was 3 years old. So the outdoor life in the mountains, that was normal for us. And I started climbing when my brother took me to the climbing gym. I started in the gym the first time together with my sister, and there I met Barbara Zangerl, no relation to Barbara Zangerl, and Dietmar Siegel, and they brought us the first time outdoors to the rock.
Okay.
And we started with bouldering in Ticino in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for us it was really cool to stay away from home, to make a short weekend trips. And there was a little scene, a little climbing scene. Yeah, we went climbing nearly every weekend.
Okay. And so who did you say you met?
Barbara Zangerl.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And these people were adults, like older than you?
Yeah,
okay.
10 years older than me.
Okay,
yeah.
sure. So, I mean, because that's really cool, because I hear that story a lot, you know, where some older climbers, you know, start taking kids away from, you know, who get to be out in the mountains and away from their parents for the first time.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of introduced to this, like, adult life in a way that, you know, their parents were never going to introduce them to it.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah, totally.
They saw
yeah.
little Babsi was
yeah.
super psyched, and
my parents
to take her climbing.
Never climbed.
Okay.
So they couldn't really understand this, because for them it was only very dangerous. And
right.
And they could understand that we went bouldering because that was kind of more safe.
Mm-hmm.
And this was also the reason why they let us go
okay.
every weekend. But for us it was cool to see something new. We tried a lot of sports before, like playing football or skiing, and we were in a skiing club, mm-hmm. and it was a hard kind of training with skiing. We have to go skiing on every day in our holidays, and it was at this time it was really too much for us, and we didn't want to keep on skiing because it was not fun anymore.
Sure.
So this was also a reason we tried something new, and climbing was completely different because it was more like hanging out with friends and having fun, and not only the climbing thing was in the middle point, it was also the travel to another place, seeing a new place, and hanging out and having fun, trying different moves.
So how old are you at this time? About?
I'm 26.
No. I mean, when
started,
this is happening, when you're going on these trips and these, you know, these older climbers who are way more experienced and are bringing you and your sister and brother, like the three of you.
No, my brother was more, at this time my brother was more into alpine climbing.
Okay.
He just brought us to the climbing gym. And then when we met Bernd and Dietmar, they were only boulderers.
Right.
So then we got more into bouldering.
Okay.
And this was the more funny way to do climbing for us at this time. I was 14 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. When I climbed the first time outdoors. Yeah.
So I mean, we were just in the gym. You were teaching some clinics today, and like, we don't have a good climbing gym close to us, so I don't end up climbing in a like a full public gym very often. Mm-hmm. And it was so fun to see the little kids, and especially because I was over where Paige was working. And she had these these 2 or 3 little girls that like were just worshiping her for one thing, which they should. But they were just like so psyched. These like super skinny little girls, just like scrambling up the wall like monkeys, you know, just like so into it. Was that like basically what we're talking about?
From the beginning on, we went regularly climbing. For us, it was the best thing we ever tried, and I mean,
because you're not like really big right now. So I imagine like Babsi as a 14-year-old was like one of those little girls, just like like
we were super psyched. Yeah, that's true. And also we are also my sister and my brother are still climbing. So it was. And from beginning on, we did it regularly. When I climbed the first time, then I went from beginning on 3 times or 4 times a week to the gym and also outdoors. And when it was kind of a impressive experience when I went the first time outdoors. It was completely different, and this was much better than in the gym. And then we tried to climb only indoors when it was raining or when it was winter, and we were outdoors all the time, just driving to different bouldering areas around Austria.
Okay.
being as much as possible outdoors.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did the transition into rope climbing and start to look like? And I mean, it eventually brings you to, if not big mountain climbing, you started climbing big routes eventually.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about maybe the evolution between this little tiny girl going bouldering and just having fun in the rocks to getting a little more serious about rope climbing and then bigger route climbing.
Yeah, at the beginning I was only focused for bouldering, and I was not interested to climb with rope or to climb bigger walls, because we had a bouldering scene, and this was the reason everybody was motivated for bouldering. So they all were psyched just for bouldering, and this was the reason why I did only bouldering. After 6 years of a lot of bouldering and a lot of traveling, also traveling around Switzerland or South Africa, French, Italy, I saw a lot of bouldering places, and it was it changed a little bit, because I knew a lot of places, and it was getting always the same, to travel to the same areas again, but this was not the reason why I changed. The reason was I got a bad injury, a bad back injury, because of trying high balls, jumping off from high, and yeah, this time that was really hard, because bouldering was super important for me. It was the middle point of my life at this time.
Can I ask you a question? I want to interrupt because I don't want to leave something behind. You just said, so you're, in your teens, late teens, and traveling to these other big countries. I mean, traveling far away. So you said your parents were originally a little worried about you, just hurting yourself climbing. How was it to say, I'm leaving for South Africa, or I'm leaving for this place, or I'm leaving for this place? Was there a point at which they were just like, oh yeah, that's what Babsi's doing?
Yeah, but they couldn't do anything. We were so focused to go.
Right.
And yeah, for them it was impossible to keep us at home. They tried, but it was impossible.
What did they do?
Yeah, they told us often, just do something normal, go with your friends shopping or to the cinema, and then do always the bouldering thing. Look at your hands or look at your toes; they are different. And
all right.
Yeah, it was kind of that, and yeah, but they couldn't do anything.
Hopefully they've come around by now.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure.
Good.
Yeah, it was only at the beginning.
Okay, so let me go back then, because I interrupted. So you injured yourself, or you started to have some problems with your back.
Yeah,
and it started to make bouldering seem like maybe it was it wasn't going to be sustainable.
No, I had a broken discus, and this was a really bad injury for bouldering. I tried to go back to bouldering all the time. The first year of the injury, I always rested for 2 weeks, and then I tried bouldering again, and I got the inflammation again, and it was 1 year always like that. But I didn't want to stop it, and after 1 year of troubles, I had to face it and just stop it for a long time. And this was the reason why I started rope climbing.
Okay.
And at the beginning only for therapy, just climbing easy routes, and then I found out that we have a lot of cool cracks around my home.
Okay.
I never climbed really before, and the cracks were just 10 minutes away or something. And for me it was, I got so motivated to climb at these places and also to do something different, because for me it was super hard. I was good in bouldering, but I had no endurance at this time. So climbing 10 meters was okay, but also when it was easy after 10 minutes on big chucks, I got totally pumped. But to learning something new and to trying hard, this was it was super for my motivation to do something different.
So when you said that finally you stopped trying to climb on this injury, and was there somebody or something that convinced you finally, or did you just one morning wake up and say, all right, I got to stop climbing for a little while and make my back better? I mean, how did that, you just kind of passed over that? Was there any sort of...
Yeah, it was annoying me. I tried everything to recover this injury, but I wanted to go bouldering. And I said to me, okay, at the beginning, it's not so bad. I rest for 1 month and then I start again. And I tried this and it didn't work. And then I thought, okay, then I will rest for 2 months and then I start again. And that also didn't work. So I had no chance. It was not possible to go back to bouldering at this time. So I had to change something and I didn't want to stop climbing. So it was the only chance to keep on climbing.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So that's... You know, it's funny because I've actually heard that story a number of times from different people, you know, because because if you change it, if it's certain types of injury, if you change the style of climbing, it's not quite so bad. And I guess with the disc, I mean, just impacting, falling off, even from a short distance, becomes really problematic.
Yeah,
and impacting the pads even.
Yeah, when you have this injury and then it's no matter if you fall from 1 meter or for 3 meters, it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at rope climbing as this therapy, talk about it becoming, you know, something that was more important to you as time went by.
For me, it was something completely different. And at the beginning, the first year, I saw it only for therapy, but after... I didn't want to go back to bouldering because the playground was much bigger to climb routes. I knew I don't have to travel so much because we have a lot of cool rope climbing places around my home, and it was a different challenge for me. And I also bouldered a lot in rope climbing because you need to boulder because when you try a harder route, you have to boulder or figure out the single sequences, and it's still like bouldering. I got more into this, and bouldering was for me the motivation at the end. In the last years when I went bouldering, the motivation was not so high anymore because I did bouldering for a really long time.
Sure.
And it was time to change. I need this injury to change for sure, otherwise I would not change into rope climbing. But at the end, it was really good. It was really good for me to try something new. Otherwise, I would have lost a lot of motivation.
Did it introduce you to like a new community as well? I mean, you know, I know it's these days it's not super divided, but you know, the hardcore boulderers sometimes rope climb, and the hardcore rope climbers sometimes boulder, but. You know, they can be different communities. So did you get introduced to new people?
That's completely true, yeah.
Right.
In the past, I did a lot with Bernd and Didi, and also with my sister. And when I started rope climbing, I went climbing with different people. That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that pops out on your resume, and I'm always interested in this, is that you ended up starting to climb bigger routes eventually, and you know that is. I mean, it's in some ways a natural transition, you know, bouldering, then rope climbing, and then like, well, what about these bigger routes?
Yeah.
But it definitely, you know, it narrows, or people that go through the complete transition to that are kind of rare. And you actually ended up starting to climb even big, long, and sometimes dangerous or scary routes as well. So, you know, as you're coming up and you're feeling like, okay, rope climbing is my thing now and I'm burnt out on bouldering, what starts to make you look higher and higher away from maybe one pitch climbing and sport climbing? Or did that happen immediately to doing big routes in the mountains and things like that?
From the step from bouldering into rope climbing, I needed this injury. Otherwise, I would have bouldered for longer for sure.
And maybe it would have like slowly lost motivation.
That's true. But after I knew, okay, I got much more motivation to try something different and to challenge me in a different way. And then it was a normal step to try also longer routes. I like all the aspects of climbing. When you climb a route, a sport climbing, you don't have to think about falling because it's always safe. You have a bolt, you just can make a big fall or something, but it's not too bad.
I wish I could do that.
You can't.
I wish I could not think about falling even on a sport route, but I think myself and a lot of people out there, I don't know what it is, but I still think about it. So
yeah, but it's good. I like this. It's not only climbing when you go bouldering. It's only the hard moves, only the maximum power. And when I went bouldering, I'm a kind of a disturbed person. I was able to try one move the whole day or 2 moves, and I was happy about it.
You're disturbed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
That's really funny. That's the right English word, but it sounded funny. Sorry,
okay.
It's like disturbed.
Not
yeah,
right
just like, oh God, there's Babsi still on that. It's getting dark,
yeah,
sweetie. It's time to come home.
It was like this when we went to a bouldering area. The guys were much stronger than me, and we went warming up. And then I couldn't do the warm up, and then I was sitting the whole day at the warming up boulder to try these 3 moves of the.
Yeah, that's happened.
But I was happy about it.
Oh, okay,
I was really happy about it.
I'm usually upset by it.
No, I was happy about it.
Cool.
And yeah, then it was for me super cool to try something longer, to get pumped, and to the change from sport climbing into rope climbing, into multi-pitch climbing. It was a bigger thing because I was scared, and I knew I have to handle more different aspects. The mental challenge, and also you are tired maybe on the 5th pitch, but you have to keep on climbing hard, and you stay in the wall the whole day. You have a long approach maybe. All the things make a bigger adventure for me.
Sure.
And this was very exciting to try. And this was the reason why I really wanted to try this.
Well, it's cool because in a lot of ways, like I said in the beginning, that's the legacy of where you grew up. You know, are big climbs, and if not big mountains, but still, going into the mountains. And I think that at least generationally, bouldering is very well accepted now. But initially, when it was a thing, when it first became something that certain climbers only did bouldering, I think there was a lot of the older climbers or the big route climbers, the mountain climbers, kind of, I think a lot of them still do. Like, well, why are you wasting your time on these little tiny rocks when there's all these big mountains around? So to have you go through both, and come back around to climbing big routes, like I said, it's kind of more of a legacy of your sort of climbing region is climbing big routes. And I talked to Nina Caprez about climbing in the Radicon, and she lived right there. What kind of climbing, when you said there was areas closer to you, what kind of climbing is close to you where you were growing up?
Also the Radicon is close to me.
Okay.
This is the place where I started multi-pitch climbing, and the places where are close to my home is also Ötztal or Zillertal for sport climbing. These are really cool places, and also the Dolomites are not far away.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about that. I wanted to clue into one thing you just said about realizing that as you moved into that, you were actually afraid all of a sudden or had some fear about climbing bigger routes.
Yeah, sure.
So, the funny thing about climbing, especially when you get into big route climbing, is that, most of the population, the people out in the world, when they would get scared, that's a signal, that's a motivation to not do something, right? Fear is supposed to be this survival skill that says, okay, move away from this situation to survive. And yet climbers are constantly embracing it in a way. And so tell me about that. So you're a climber, you're perfectly happy bouldering, and then you're perfectly happy sport climbing, and you start sort of raising your eyes to these big routes. How do you then just say, well, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyway?
At the beginning, I was not sure about it because I was really scared about really long runouts in Radicon. There is a really technical climbing style on slabs, and with long runouts. And when you fall on a slab with a long runout, it's always painful. But for me, it was also to handle, to keep on concentrated on climbing while you are feeling scared. This was a really interesting thing for me. And at the beginning, I also have to jump into the rope just a little above the bolt, and then I climbed up higher and jumped into the rope to get more used to that. But I really like it to feel scared. Sometimes at the beginning something feels impossible to you because you are too scared and you can't imagine to do this. But after time, and when you try out all the moves, it get closer, and at the end it's possible.
Right.
This is very interesting thing for me in climbing.
With your bouldering background, it's pretty well known on people listening to the show that that's my weakest discipline, besides ice climbing, but that's a whole nother story. But yet I boulder a lot anyway. I'm just not that good at it. But the one thing I always feel like that's kind of cool that you do take away from bouldering is that the single moves or the single sequences can be so difficult. And a lot of times on a longer route, whether it's multi-pitch or a sport route, you come across, the crux, and taken for itself, you kind of say to yourself, well, if this was a boulder problem, it's like it wouldn't even be that hard. And yet here I arrive at it tired or whatever. Is that for you something that you used? I mean, you had such this great strength in bouldering, and to start rock climbing, were you able to really draw on that, not just physically because you were strong from bouldering, but mentally? Is that a game you could play up high when you came across the crux like, oh, I'm just going to take this as a boulder problem?
Yeah, sure, it's like that.
And if it was a boulder problem, it wouldn't even be that big a deal.
Yeah, I did it similar to bouldering. I just bouldered and figured out the moves of the single hard sequence. It's the same like bouldering. And then, you are tired there, so I was sure I have to try it more often to get to do it more easily. Mm-hmm. And then I was also able to do it when I'm tired. Okay. This was the thing, how I worked on these multi-pitch routes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, let me further that line of questioning to say, because I'm curious, I've climbed, I can climb sort of scary things, but, I think about like, the Silver Gyre and like that kind of very small hold climbing very far away from your protection. Like, it makes my palms sweat a little bit, and I'm attracted to it as well. Are you able to use that mental technique even far away from your bolt? Like, this is just a boulder problem, I just need to make this one move? I mean, or what? Are there anything you can point to?
No, I think it's just you want to do it. When you start to try a route like Silver Gyre, finally you want to do the route. The route is so beautiful, and every pitch is so special and really cool to climb. And it's hard to, for me, it's really important to start ground up. Okay. And it's an adventure to climb from one pole to another because the poles are far away, and sometimes you have to climb through a hard passage, and after a few meters you can clip the next bolt. And at the beginning I remember we tried the first pitch and we couldn't reach the first belay because we couldn't climb from the last pole to the chain. It was impossible.
And this was with Nina?
Yeah, and we always had to figure out the single sequence, but you always have to climb in this hard passage, and then you have to be fast to find a solution for it. And when you don't find it fast, then you fall again. And this is super tiring. And yeah, but this is a good way to do a route like this. I like when it's long bolted. It's more exciting. Because otherwise, when you go sport climbing, you can also hold on a quick draw and figure the sequence out in top rope. And then it's much more easy. But it's more adventure when it's long bolted and when you have to think about, okay, how should I do this? Yeah.
Can you tell me about this this thing that you're calling the Alpine Trilogy? I talked to Nina a bunch about Silver Gyre, and because I don't know when, but years ago, I saw pictures of it or read about it, and it really captured my imagination and the Radicon in general. And I've never climbed there, and someday I will. And I had the pleasure of meeting Beat in Indian Creek, actually. And he's a big proponent of that zone. And so can you tell me about this Alpine Trilogy? Because it sounds like it was sort of a culmination of trying to use all these skills to get something done.
It's all about these 3 routes. It's Silver Gyre in Retikon. This route was opened by Bert Kammerlander. And the route in Berchtesgaden in Germany from Thomas Huber, End of Silence. And the last one from Stefan Glowacz. The route is called Kaisers Neue Kleider. And all 3 routes were opened in 1994. And at this time it was a kind of mythos about these 3 routes because it were the hardest of the Alps at this time.
And those guys, I mean, you're talking about like 3 names that are of the greatest rock climbers of all time. I mean, we're talking about
big names. That's true.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, and anyway, so.
Yeah, that's true. At this time, Beat nearly put up all new routes in Retikon in this region, where also is Silbergeier, and also Stefan Glowacz was one of the most famous climber in the world at this time, and also Thomas Huber.
The man, and then Thomas and Alex are famous in the States because of Yosemite. You know, so.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's talk about your motivation. I mean, where
my
did it
motivation
come from?
At the beginning, it was not the goal to try the trilogy. It was just a goal. I met Nina, and we were thinking about to try Silbergeier. It was not far away from my home, and she grew up at this place, so this was the reason why we tried this route, and we climbed before a lot in this place. And for sure, it's one of the most beautiful routes in Retikon, and we were not sure about it. If we can climb this route, we just wanted to try it. Yeah, at the beginning, at this time in 2011, it was not so popular, this route, and it also had not a lot of ascents. So at the beginning, we just had to remove all the ropes from the Via Ferrata at the beginning, and we placed new ropes. And then after 2 days of work with this, then we started to climb in this wall, and it felt super hard to us. Even the first pitch we couldn't climb at the first day, so we didn't really know if it's possible. And
can I ask you something? You know, I don't know if I asked Nina this or not, but was there any sort of, I mean, we'd say in the States, eye rolling, you know, in terms of some of these badass, older, mostly guy climbers, of like, oh, you know, you guys are gonna go try Silbergeier, like, good luck, girls, you know? Or was there like an acceptance of like, okay, yeah, these girls could do it?
No, everybody found it cool, I think.
Okay,
we
cool.
were trying this.
All
right. Sure.
I mean, it can go either way. I mean, I think in any community you can have both types of people, so I was just sort of curious.
Sure. No, they were happy about it, I think. And Beat was super psyched about it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and we just had a little base camp at the beginning of the trail, and we tried this route for 1 week in a row. And then at the beginning it was really hard, but after a lot of work in the single pitches, we could do every move, and some sequences of the route were really scary, because on the fifth pitch, for example, there was a long run out, 12 meters or something, and it was not the hardest part of the route, but it was really hard to climb through this part, and we took some really big falls, and after falling a lot of time, we got more used to it, and we were not so scared anymore.
So how far are you falling?
Yeah, sometimes.
I mean, 12 meters is like 40 feet.
Yeah, but we never felt
it.
Yeah, never from the top, but we felt for sure 10 to 15 meters.
Right.
Yeah. And also the last pitch was really hard. Because the last bolt was in the last bolt before the cracks was in a dihedral, and we tried to climb this boulder, and we always felt really badly in this dihedral. And for this pitch, we always took a helmet with us and a long sleeve because it was super painful. But at the end, we knew every move is possible, and we could climb every single passage, and it was only a time to do the whole thing. And then we tried to prepare us for a ground up try, to figure out the single hard passages again, to climb on the single hard passages more easily. And then I got my back injury inflamed again because of a really strange undercling move in the cracks pitch. And then I was out of the game, and at this time for me I never was so motivated for a route than for Silbergeier. So it was really hard to stop trying Silbergeier, but it was cool. I just went with Nina 1 month after. Went with Nina again to this place, and I was there when she made the first female ascent. So I was super happy about it and super inspired. And then I was thinking about to search for a similar route and for a similar adventure. And this was the reason why I wanted to try End of Silence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what's that like?
End of Silence is a similar route, but it's nearly double as long than Silbergeier, but the same climbing style. And yeah, I teamed up with a good friend of mine, and yeah, I didn't want to research a lot information about this route because I just wanted to go there and to see how it is. And I knew it is a sport climbing route, so I only need quick draws. And I remember when we went the first day to End of Silence, it was a really long approach, about 2.5 hours, and then we started climbing, and it was more alpine style. So we only had quick draws, and it was super challenging, and we struggled a lot. We mentally struggled a lot, and we just climbed up to the 5th pitch, and then we turned around because it was too dangerous, and we didn't want to take the risk.
So when you say it was alpine style, like you should have had some gear with you and things like that?
It's easy when you have gear. When you can place camulets, it's easy to climb up the first pitches. They are not so hard, but there are only rusty pitons in, and they, it's not so fun it's not when you only have when you only have quick draws. And it was the same thing like I did with Nina, just figuring out all the single pictures. And also about this route, I was not sure if I ever could climb this route. It was just about the adventure. Mm-hmm. And we also had a base camp there, and I tried the route for 2 months. And at the end, I was happy to climb it.
Right, and you did the first female ascent, or had it been done before?
No, it was the first female ascent.
And how many, I was curious, you said that Silbergeier was not very popular, and Nina kind of implied that it has become more popular since then. Yeah. And then, I mean, how many ascents were these routes seeing at that time? I mean, would one group do it a year, or had there been...
At this, in 2000,
your guess, you know.
In 2011, I think 5 groups did it or something. I'm not sure about the number, but now it's many more.
Right.
Yeah, it's super popular. Right. Everybody wants to climb Silbergeier in Europe.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And the whole summer, it's full of parties.
It's weird how that happens, but it's just a matter of somebody. I always say kicks the door open, and then makes everyone realize that I guess I could do that, like for the free rider on El Cap is an example in the States. Like all of a sudden, you're a normal person, good climbers, but we used to think only the best or the pros could do something like that. And then slowly but surely you get this idea like, well, I'm a good climber, I could try. Yeah. So, and I think maybe you guys were part of that, it sounds like, as if, because there was some publicity around this, so maybe it was a part of opening the door to other people scratching their head and saying, maybe I can do this.
Yeah, sure, you see more pictures and also video about that, and the wall looks amazing, and this is the reason why the people
So what's
are coming.
The third one then?
The third one is Kaisersneue Kleider. It's in Wilder Kaiser. It's in Austria, and this place is famous for really traditional old-style alpine climbing. There are a lot of routes where you have protect yourself with mobile protection, and it's a super nice place. And when you have the possibility to climb there, it's nice to climb the classic like Pumprisse or Schlemmerisse. These routes are amazing to climb, and it's real alpine style. No belays, just using your own gear.
Okay.
Yeah. And the route is, compared to the other two routes, Kaisersneue Kleider is completely different. For me, it was the hardest out of these 3 routes because it's more body power, long moves, it's super steep, and it's not really technical climbing. So it was a completely different thing for me, and it took me longer to complete the whole thing. And there was one single pitch at the end, which took me a long time to resolve the single boulder problem. I just tried 3 meters, I think 4 days, and I didn't find a solution for that. But I climbed
and
up.
How high up is it?
It's
this area that you couldn't do. Like how much
wall,
climbing do you have to get?
The wall is, I think, 250 meters or something, and this pitch is at the end.
Right.
But I climbed up to this point, and it was a lot of work to climb up to this point, and I knew every pitch before it's possible, and just these only few 3 meters are impossible for me. But I gave everything to figure out how it works. And I found a really strange stemming solution on a really slippery foothold, and I could make the single boulder only 1 time out of 5 times, and the risk was high that I'm too tired when I climbed 7 hard pitches before, and I was not sure to be able to climb this last hard pitch after all the pitches before.
Sure, but you did eventually.
Yeah, but the day when I sent this route, it was like psycho terror because I started really nervous this day, but I didn't make mistakes, and I climbed up to the last hard pitch without falling. And then I arrived at the last pitch, and I was really tired. But there was a big ledge, and I could lay down and rest for half an hour, and then I started my first try. And I felt after the first part, I felt into the rope. And then I tried the second time, and it was a little bit better, but not good enough. And I felt another time, and it was like it took me 6 tries, and on the 7th go, I did this single pitch. And this was before it was never possible to take more than 4 tries in a hard pitch. Also in sport climbing, when I try a hard route, it was only possible to take 4 tries. And then I'm normally done. I'm normally too tired to try again. But I was so motivated to finish this thing. And I don't know, it was for sure not my body, it was just my mind. I really wanted to do that. And I don't know how, but it worked. On the 7th go, I climbed through this hard passage, and then I finished the whole thing. I don't know how it worked.
Well, that's amazing. And we're getting to the end here. But let me ask you a couple questions about that, because the mental thing, we talk about it in climbing a lot, and I think that a bigger percentage of the world has the motivation to get strong, to exercise or to train. But I really believe that the mind or the mental part is what makes that rare climber at a certain point. And thinking about you and throwing yourself at these routes, trying these routes that what you kept saying on all of them, like, well, I didn't think I could do it, but I kept trying it. I mean, what does that look like to you? Like when you were up there on that climb on previous attempts, and you couldn't even do those moves, and you're investing all this time and energy to this route, and it starts to creep in that I can't do these moves, like I'm wasting my time. Or, I mean, does that happen? Is Babsi down in base camp like, dark and angry and upset, or are you just one of those people who's able to push those doubts out of your brain? And if you are, like, what kind of game is that for you?
I was thinking to give up, because I tried everything, every single way to do this sequence I tried before, and it was impossible. But I knew it was only just these 2 meters or 3 meters, and I can do everything, but not this 2 or 3 meters. And this was the reason why I kept on trying it. And I invested a lot of time, and also this is the reason why I want to finish something. When you put a lot of work into something, and it feels good, you have good days in the wall. It's not only, it was always a good fun to be together with Jacopo in this wall and to figure out all the single pitches. And then you reach a point and you are not sure if this is possible. For me, I was thinking about to give up, but it was always like this when I was on the route. I thought, okay, it's impossible, I can't do this, and I have to stop to try this route. And then I was on the ground again, and I was thinking at home, maybe dreaming about it. It was kind of strange, because I thought, okay, maybe I didn't try this solution. And then I had to go back to try this solution. And when I was directly at this pitch, for sure I was thinking, no, it's no way, I can't do it, and I don't want to, I want to give up. But when I was at the ground again, it was completely different.
Sure.
I wanted to go back. I don't know why.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just part of your personality, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like I told you from bouldering. I sit on the next to the boulder the whole day to make the warming up boulder, and it's kind of the same in the multi-pitch route. I'm super psyched to figure out these single moves and to complete the whole thing at the end.
Well, what are you concentrating on now? What are you looking at? I mean, not necessarily giving away your plans, but what's? I mean, it seems like the things I've been reading or seeing is a lot to do with really hard sport climbing. But what are you concentrating on these days?
I try to mix it up. Normally in spring I like to go sport climbing. In summer I prefer to go multi-pitch climbing, and in autumn I like to go crack climbing or tread climbing. Okay, that's it. Yeah,
just keeping that going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and you're going to get to go down to the desert here in a week, or next week, for a little while and climb some towers.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I only climbed a lot of single pitches in Indian Creek and one tower, so I'm super psyched to climb more towers.
Right on. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks a lot for sitting down and talking about that, because I'm always interested when someone is articulate, and I know you're sort of self-conscious about your English, but it's your thoughts that are important, and you're getting them out just fine. But I love to hear about that, because so many people struggle with the fear in climbing, and whether it's the fear of failing, like you were just talking about just a minute ago, of just being like, I'm not going to be able to do this, or the literal fear of like falling and hurting yourself or dying. So whenever I latch onto someone like yourself who's been there and had to deal with that, I'm always really excited to talk to you about that. So I appreciate you sitting down, and I hope you have a great time in the desert next week.
Yeah, thanks. It was cool to talk to you. Thanks.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Barbara for sitting down, taking some time out of a very busy couple weeks here in the U.S. to sit down for the Enormocast. Very kind. And remember, folks, that the Enormocast is nothing without you, the listeners, the people keeping this thing going, new folks, people that have been here the whole time, all contributing, hopefully, a little bit, spreading the words, telling your friends. You can also go to enormocast.com, click on the Help Out tab, do a few things to increase the reach of the Enormocast. You can also donate over there if you care to, but I do appreciate all the support that I've gotten and all the support that hopefully we will continue to get as we march towards 100. We're almost there, just a few months away. It's really hard to fucking believe, frankly, but I think I'm going to pull it out, unless I die in a bizarre gardening accident or choke on someone else's vomit between now and then. Or worst of all, spontaneously combust, leaving behind just a small green globule. Chris Kalous, great look, good podcaster. Anyway, that was for you tap fans. All right, folks, hit it. Get out there. Send your project. Summer's waning already. Can you believe that? It's getting darker every day here in the States. Bullshit. As you're going for that evening send, that late good conditions try, and the light is dimming in the sky, don't forget to look down and check your knot.
But my common sense tells me the Andes is foothills, and the Alps is for children to climb.